Hello and welcome to The Chat, the official podcast of Chatham County Government. My name is Will Peoples with the Public Information Office, and today I have the distinct pleasure of being joined by Mr. Dennis Jones, the Director of the Chatham Emergency Management Agency. Dennis, how you doing?
I'm great, Will. Thank you for having us.
Dennis, I know that there are very few certainties during hurricane season, but one certainty is that it will always come around again. Where are we at right now? When does hurricane season start? Are we already in it?
Yeah, hurricane season started June 1st, and it'll last until November 30th. And they are expecting another above average season. So we'll be watching the tropics. We've already seen one developing system off of our coast that happened last week. So we'll be watching it, and every day we take a look at what the tropical weather outlook looks like, and we're watching every system that is up for development in the Gulf of Mexico as well as the Atlantic.
When we talk about hurricane season, it means that the conditions are ripe for a storm. And that usually just means that the water's getting warmer, right? And it makes it more likely for cyclones to form out
Right.
there. Is that something that y'all watch? Is that something that NOAA watches? What is that relationship
Yeah,
like?
well,
How do we watch a storm?
the Storm Prediction Center, they take a look at what the atmospheric conditions look like. They're also monitoring the sea surface temperatures. The National Hurricane Center is doing the same thing. So they take a look at all of that. What do the conditions look like for favorability and development of a hurricane? There's a lot that goes into the formula for creating a tropical system. You got sea surface temperatures, you got upper level shear, you got lower level shear, and you've got all of these systems that interact with each other, as well as what the ocean's doing itself in order for those conditions to come together in the right formula, the right mixture, in order to develop that circulation. And then increase in circulation, they take a look at that as to, what type of atmospheric conditions could favor that and what could actually tear it apart. So they take a look at all of that. It's very, very scientific. The benefit to us in the United States is we have the best people in the world looking at this stuff. So they're constantly watching tropical waves as they develop into tropical systems, tropical depressions, and then eventually into storms and hurricanes.
Gotcha. And I've heard, as I'm sure we've mentioned it today already. We are looking at another above average season for
Right.
this year, and that's not set in stone. That's not something that we will definitely have X number of hurricanes, because as you said and as you guys have heard, all of those individual conditions have to come together for it to happen.
That's
If
right.
one of them's off, then that's
Yeah.
not a storm that could have been.
Yeah.
It's it's a gamble every year.
It is. It is, and it's like looking into the future. You can't really predict what's going to happen, but you can have a good guess as to what the history has been and what the conditions look like now compared to a year ago, 5 years ago, and it gives you a rough idea. So that's not to say that we are going to have an active season, but they are forecasting a higher than normal season. So we take a look at every system that develops off our coast, every system that develops in the Gulf, and how that impacts Chatham County. So for us, whether it's an active season or a below active season, it really doesn't lend a lot of credence to what we do, because we're watching every single storm that comes our way.
Gotcha. And you may not be able to predict every storm, but you can prepare for them, Dennis.
You sure can.
So what should folks be doing right now? We're kind of in, as I've learned, this is a CEMA term, blue sky territory.
Yeah.
So while we're under those blue skies, what should folks be doing? Talk to me about the kit. Talk to me about plans.
Sure.
Tell me what you yourself do to prepare for a storm with your own family.
For emergency management is what we do. We encourage people throughout the year, not just during hurricane season, to ensure that they are ready to handle an emergency or disaster event for themselves, their family, their business. Part of that preparedness and that readiness level is having an emergency kit. So that kit are things that are important to you and your family, things that can give you a little bit more comfort if we have to lose power, like flashlights with extra batteries or a battery-operated radio, some non-perishable foods, things that your family may need or want during an interruption to service. So that's something that you can have year-round, not just during hurricane season. So we encourage you to prepare that kit and then take and put all those contents into a container. You can throw it in your closet. It could sit there for a year or more. And when you need it, it's there. It's not something that you have to scramble to put together at the last minute. We also encourage people to have an emergency plan. This plan is essential into defining for your family or your your business, what you are going to do during an emergency event. Go ahead and define that now. Plan that out. Communicate that with your family members, with your employees. Ensure that they have an understanding of what the expectations are if we do go into a hurricane threat or a tornado threat or a flood warning, whatever it may be. It's all about communicating that information, sharing that information, ensuring everybody has that awareness, and then also having that kit. And those two are the key components to being resilient and to being ready. If we could have everyone in Chatham County be resilient and ready, as a whole, our entire county will be much more resilient and ready.
And another thing that I wanted to talk about today is what folks can be looking out for, what channels they can tune into. And I don't mean just like TV channels, I mean like social media. We do email alerts, we do CEMA alerts. When a storm is coming, we're constantly messaging.
Right.
If we believe it's even going to slightly affect our area, CEMA is activated, PIO ourselves are activated, and we're in there. We're telling folks about what's happening. What are some of the ways that you recommend that people get information from us officially?
Well, when it comes to a hurricane threat, there's a lot of different sources out there. There's a whole bunch of sources. Some are official, some are not so official. So you got to be cautious about those who are just behind a keyboard telling you their opinion of what the weather's going to do. You got to be cautious of that. But take a look at those official sources. Those official sources, anything that comes from the National Weather Service, the National Hurricane Center, those are all going to be specific to the storm and specific to your area. In addition to that, you want to make sure that you're following official government sources as well. So you mentioned that we put out a lot of information. We put it out early, we put it out often, and we make sure that that we are trying to stay on top of rumor control as well. So during a disaster event, there's a lot of rumors that float around out there. We really try and take a concerted effort to maximize the accuracy of the information that we put out. So we'll see information that's distributed out, and we'll issue some statements that correct that information. So we're constantly putting information out, but using those official government sources, either from the federal government, National Weather Service, National Hurricane Center, using your local county resources. In Chatham County, it's through our Chatham County website, through Chatham Emergency Management Agency. If you're in another county, follow your emergency management director there. Follow your county or your municipal public information office to make sure that you're getting the most accurate information about government operations, because that's what's going to affect your ability to navigate throughout the county and to have the resources available to you as a family.
Yeah, and I just want to take a moment to kind of shout out to the National Weather Service in Charleston, because a little inside baseball here, that's where we get all of our information during a storm, especially one that affects our area. And also it's there even if there's a storm not affecting our area. They will give updates pretty constantly throughout every day of the storm, like every couple hours in the height of it. And leading up to it. So if you want to use what we use to let you know, you can beat us to the punch. You can find out early.
A fun fact is everything that you see on the internet, everything that you see through media outlets, they all get their information from the same source. It all goes back to the National Weather Service. In our area, it's the Charleston Field Office. So they produce the weather information. Everybody else takes that information and they put their own spin on it. But the source of that information ultimately all comes from the National Weather Service in Charleston for our area. So you can go straight to the source and get the information straight from them. Then you can watch other sources, and again, they put their spin on it. But the source of the information comes from one place. It's from the National Weather Service for your area.
And we will be sharing that same information to you. And also a ton of other information. Make sure you're following Chatham Emergency Management Agency on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the whole 9 yards. We'll be posting that info there during the storm. But we're still in the before the storm time, Dennis, and that's something I'm quite thankful for right now, because we get pretty busy when it's storm time. Talk to me about what CEMA's doing right now. What do y'all do when it's blue sky? What are blue sky operations looking like for you guys right now?
Well, we have a lot of planning efforts that take place. We're always getting prepared. We're always in that planning phase. So we have a ton of plans that have to be updated at various cycles throughout a calendar year. So we work on those. We're ensuring that we are taking lessons learned from other areas throughout the country, not just from a hurricane threat, but from other threats as well. And we take that information and we incorporate that into our plan. Our goal is to keep working to make Chatham County as resilient as we can. So we take information that other communities have learned We bring that back here where it's prudent. We incorporate that into our plans. We then test and exercise those plans on a regular basis, and we communicate that out to our partners who are supporting that plan. So our focus is to be transparent, to plan as much as we can, and then to test and exercise those plans so we can make sure that everybody's on the same page. So you can have a plan where nobody is involved in it, and that plan's not going to work. But you get everybody involved, and they have ownership, they have buy-in, they have input into those planning efforts, you're going to get stuff accomplished. And that's what we are looking to do. That's what we strive to do on a regular basis. When it comes to a response and recovery operation, our focus is to make it as efficient and as effective as we can. You can only do that through relationships. You can only do that through planning. You can only do that through training and exercise.
Well, Mr. Jones, I sure appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else you want to share? Any final parting advice for folks as we come into hurricane season?
I want to go back again and echo that it really is important to have that disaster plan and that disaster kit. And again, that is the foundation for being resilient. That's the foundation for having that continuity for yourself, your family, your business. And if we can encourage everybody to do that, just have that kit, throw it in your closet. It's there for you. Have that plan, communicate that out to the people that are important to you. And if we can do that, we'll be a much more resilient community.
Gotcha. And if you need any help making that kit, I'm pretty sure you can go to chathamemergency.org, and there's some advice that you can follow there, as well as all the CEMA information you could really want for hurricane season. Well, Dennis, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on. And I'm going to knock on wood because we've been saying the H word a lot, and I'm very superstitious. But thank you so much for joining us on the chat this week. I hope you learned something, and I hope that we didn't scare you. I hope that we encouraged you to be more prepared for hurricane season, and to trust the professionals like Dennis who guide us through every storm. And anyway, thanks for watching. We appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next time.